Today we're going to be installing a pre-bled clutch hydraulic system on this 2005 Jeep Wrangler. The pre-bled systems offer a lot of advantages in the fact that they're easier to install, there's no bleeding required, it includes the clutch slave cylinder and the clutch master cylinder along with the connecting line, so there's no difficulty in trying to remove the line from the individual components during service. These systems also ensure that there's no air in the system, which will cause clutch release problems after installation. On this vehicle, the clutch slave cylinder is mounted external of the transmission, so we're going to remove the two mounting bolts from the transmission case to be able to slide the slave cylinder out of the bell housing of the transmission for removal. Once the two bolts are removed, we can go ahead and pull the slave cylinder out of the transmission and go on to the next step of removing the clutch master. Under the hood on this 2005 Jeep Wrangler, and this is where the clutch master cylinder is located. The mounting bolts actually go through the firewall and are accessible from the inside of the vehicle. So we're going to have to go inside and get underneath the dash to loosen up the clutch master cylinder for replacement. Alright, we're now underneath the dash and you can see the two studs that protrude through the firewall that hold the clutch master cylinder into position. There's a linkage rod that we have to remove from the clutch pedal prior to the removal of the master cylinder. We've already disconnected that linkage rod and are now ready to undo the two nuts that hold the master cylinder to the firewall. So once the nuts are removed, we can go outside underneath the hood and pull the master cylinder out of position. With the two nuts removed from the master cylinder inside the passenger compartment, we can now take the master cylinder and slide it out of the firewall and then fish it down through the engine compartment so that we can remove the whole hydraulic system as one unit. Alright, we're now ready to install our AMS pre-bled hydraulic system on this 2005 Jeep Wrangler. A couple of things that we have to change over to the new system. We had to remove the clutch safety switch off the original master cylinder push rod and transfer it over to the new push rod that was included in the AMS pre-bled system. Once we slide the clutch safety switch onto the push rod, there's also a bushing and a grommet included that we have to change over before installing the push rod into the clutch master cylinder. And in order to install the push rod into the clutch master cylinder, we just have to push firmly into place and the push rod will latch inside of the clutch master. We're now ready to install that back into the firewall. The other thing to take note of on this pre-bled system is this clutch slave cylinder retaining strap. You want to avoid releasing the strap or cutting the strap prior to installation, which will cause the slave cylinder to overstroke, allowing air to enter the system and voiding your warranty. Alright, we're now going to install the clutch master cylinder back onto the firewall, starting with fishing through the electrical connector for the neutral safety switch, followed by pushing the clutch push rod through the hole, and then the mounting studs. And we're now ready to go back inside and tighten down the clutch master to the firewall. Alright, we can now reinstall the nuts on the studs of the master cylinder that hold it to the firewall and tighten them into position. It's helpful during the reinstall if you have an extra set of hands to hold the that master cylinder up against the firewall while doing this. Okay, I was able to reconnect the clutch push rod on the back side of the pedal linkage prior to the tightening of those two nuts. So we're now ready to go down and install the slave cylinder to the transmission. Alright, we're now ready to install the clutch slave cylinder to the transmission. It's important that we don't cut these plastic straps prior to the install. They're a breakaway strap that will automatically snap under the first pedal application. After the installation of the slave cylinder, the last thing to do in the installation of the pre-bled hydraulic assembly is just to make sure that the line is routed and installed in any factory frame clips to prevent the line from coming in contact or rubbing through and being punctured. Alright, now that we've finished the installation of our AMS pre-bled clutch hydraulic system, we're ready for our first clutch pedal application to break that nylon strap off of the slave cylinder. And we have a good firm clutch hydraulic system. This whole installation took us roughly 15 minutes on this 2005 Jeep. We're now ready for a test drive.